Welcome back to the Rise Up podcast. I'm so glad you're here today because we're diving into a topic that's close to my heart: gratitude. It's something we all know we should practice, but honestly, how often do we really take the time to reflect on the things we're thankful for? In this episode, I'll be sharing a perspective that might just change the way you think about your relationships, your past experiences, and even the little moments in life. And as always, if you'd like to follow along or revisit today's content, we've prepared a PDF transcript of the episode for anyone who needs it. You'll find it linked in the description below. Let's get started. You know, sometimes life throws these little moments at you that stop you in your tracks. It's like the universe saying, "Hey, pay attention." That happened to me recently when I read a sentence that went something like, "If you can't show gratitude for something, at least don't betray it." I mean, wow. That's so simple, yet it hits so deep. It got me thinking about gratitude, and honestly, how often we overlook it in our everyday lives. We all know we should be grateful, right? But life moves so fast that we don't really pause to appreciate the little things. I'm guilty of it too. Sometimes I get so caught up in chasing the next goal, fixing the next problem, or just surviving the day that I forget about all the things that got me here in the first place. Take a second to think about your own life. The meals you've eaten, the people you've met, the experiences you've had, all of that shaped who you are today. Even the tough stuff taught you something. But how often do we stop to really appreciate those things? The other day, I was having this conversation with a friend who's really against eating red meat. I mean, they were fired up about it, talking about how it's unhealthy, bad for the planet, and all that. And sure, they weren't wrong. There's a lot of evidence to back up those claims. But what stood out to me wasn't the information itself. It was how much they hated it, like it was some kind of villain in their life. So I asked them, "Hey, didn't you grow up eating red meat?" And of course they had. For years, it was part of their diet, part of their family meals. And whether they realized it or not, those meals contributed to their growth, their energy, and even their happy memories. I told them it's okay if you don't eat it anymore. Totally fine. But why hate it? Why treat it like the enemy? Just because something doesn't fit into your life now, doesn't mean it wasn't valuable before. And you know what? They actually stopped and thought about it. That moment wasn't about debating food choices. It was about recognizing how we sometimes forget to honor the things that brought us to where we are. It's the same with relationships. Isn't it funny how the people we used to love the most can sometimes become the people we dislike the most? A friend of mine went through a tough breakup recently, and they couldn't stop talking about how much they hated their ex. "I can't stand them anymore," they said. "How could I have ever loved someone like that?" I get it. When things fall apart, emotions run high, and it's easy to let anger take over. But I couldn't help but ask, didn't you have good times with them? Didn't you feel happy and loved at some point? They nodded reluctantly. So I said, then why not hold on to those memories instead of throwing them away with the bad ones? You don't have to love them now, but you don't have to erase the good times either. And here's the thing. When we let gratitude take the wheel, even in situations that ended badly, it's like a weight lifts off our shoulders. Holding on to anger only hurts us. It's like carrying around a heavy backpack full of resentment. Eventually, you've got to set it down, or it'll wear you out. Let me give you another example. Right now, I'm sitting in a cafe, enjoying a nice cup of coffee. And yeah, I paid for it, but when I think about everything that comes with it, the comfy chair, the air conditioning, the ambiance, I feel so grateful. If I tried to recreate this experience at home, it'd take me years to save up for something similar. And even then, would it feel the same? Probably not. It's funny how we take things like that for granted. Bookstores, for example. Have you ever walked into a bookstore and just felt like, wow, this is amazing? You're surrounded by knowledge, creativity, and inspiration, all in one place. It's like a little treasure chest for your mind. And yet, how often do we stop and think, I'm lucky this exists? Gratitude doesn't just make us feel good, it heals us. When we let go of anger, resentment, or bitterness, we're really doing ourselves a favor. It's like letting fresh air into a stuffy room. And no, I'm not saying it's easy. I've been hurt before too. I've had people I trusted betray me, and for a long time, it felt impossible to move on. But then I started looking at the bigger picture. I realized that even those tough experiences had moments of joy, connection, and learning. Focusing on those moments didn't mean I excused the bad behavior, it just meant I wasn't letting it control me anymore. And honestly, gratitude doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing. It's the little stuff like a sunny day after weeks of rain, or a kind word from a stranger. It's noticing the trees lining your street, or the fact that you woke up this morning and got to live another day. Sometimes, we overlook those things because we're too busy chasing the next big win or stressing over the next problem. But if you take a moment to really notice them, it's like hitting the pause button on all the noise in your life. Here's what I've learned. When you practice gratitude, it changes how you see the world. You start to notice the good instead of just the bad. You appreciate the journey, not just the destination. And when you look back on your life, you'll see a mosaic of moments, some beautiful, some challenging, but all of them meaningful. So, if you're still carrying anger or bitterness, maybe it's time to let it go. Not for anyone else, but for yourself. Because life's too short to hold on to things that weigh you down. Instead, focus on what lifts you up, the memories, the lessons, and the little joys that make it all worthwhile. Thanks for letting me share this with you. I hope it gives you something to think about, and maybe even inspires you to reflect on your own journey. Life's a lot better when we look for the good in it, don't you think? That's it for today's episode of the Rise Up Podcast. I hope this conversation about gratitude inspired you to see life through a slightly different lens. It's not always easy to appreciate the good when life gets tough, but even small moments of gratitude can make a huge difference in how we experience the world around us. Don't forget to check out the PDF transcript in the description if you'd like to read through today's episode or share it with someone who might find it helpful. Thank you for spending your time with me, and as always, keep rising up, one step at a time. Until next time.